Good morning. We were continuing the Beis HaLevi's Maimon B'Tochen, the discourse on absolute certainty that God Almighty is taking care of us, has been, is, and will continue to be in every single detail of our lives. And we are up to now, paragraph 23. This is now coming on the heels of what we described last week, the terrible consequences of our choices to replace God Almighty with some other power, as we were discussing last night in our learning together in the Parshas Vayera. The concept that God Almighty holds the keys to everything in existence, and in particular we refer to the keys of birth, the keys of the resurrection of the dead, and the keys of rain, which is also related to parnas, of making income. Some people say it's the fourth key, and that we have to be careful that what we do typically is we turn the keys over to someone else. We say that someone else has the keys. Oh, the boss has the keys to our income. The government has the key to our safety and security. We turn the keys over to those people, and the end result is we create a reality in which we are now creating a compound around ourselves, a compound as an imprisonment around us, because with the keys, if you give someone the keys to something, that comes, now he's the warden, and you've built in this experience of being subjugated to that person. So we were discussing that, and God Almighty's saying to the people through Jeremiah last week that what a terrible thing it is that people do this, that they exchange God Almighty for other forces. So I encourage you to go and watch that and take that to heart. And then he continues over here. Zebir Midrash Rabbah. This is the explanation of the Midrash Rabbah. Blessed is the man who places the Lord as his source of strength, sense of certainty that he's being taken care of. Then it says, there's a dash, it says, Zeh Yosef. This is referring to Joseph, that he trusted in God Almighty. And he doesn't turn towards the arrogant. The bishvil she'amar l'sar mashkin, that on account of the fact that Yosef, a tzaddik, said to the wine cup bearer, ki im zachartani, that in a way of requesting an extra level of request, that you should remember me. He was added to him 2 years in prison. Because of the great level of the sense of certainty that Yosef HaTzadik had. It was upon him to understand that his salvation, his rescue, would not be through the promise of a man of falsehood and arrogance. This is one of the king's courtiers that was in prison with him, and he interpreted his dream, and he said that the man was going to be returned to his position in 3 days, and he was looking for a commitment from that person. Joseph was looking for a commitment from this wine steward, but this wine steward was part of the Egyptian culture and was the man of falsehood and arrogance. So in over requesting, then he was placing in this subtle way something that was taking away from him from the recognition that everything's coming from God Almighty. And he should have known that. He's held to that standard because of the greatness of his certainty of God Almighty is taking care of him. Then even the slightest waning of that certainty, even the slightest placing of his certainty in any other being. Now here he's mentioning it because it's someone of falsehood and arrogance. But even if you think the person is okay, if you are putting your trust in another human being, then you're in trouble. Now we know that we if a righteous person gives us a blessing and tells us something's going to be good, we take that to heart because that person's reflecting God Almighty's intention. But we're actually putting our faith in God Almighty, meaning to say that that person is telling us that it's going to be good because he is aligned with the will and the vision of God Almighty. It's not that we're putting our faith in that human being, as righteous as he is. And so what the Beis HaLevi is coming here to tell us is that we have to be super, super aware of the way in which we are putting our trust, even in a subtle way, even in a way of just adding extra requests in order to receive something, then that extra request is revealing where there's that certainty is less bright, that certainty is less clear for us. And it's an opportunity for us to go and strengthen that and to allow the certainty that God Almighty is going to take care of us and is taking care of us and has taken care of us to penetrate into every aspect of our awareness.